All right, we're talking special teams. This is pretty significant. Devin Hester is a semifinalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I looked at some numbers. I think it was since 2000, everyone who gets to the semifinalist stage in their first year has gone to the Hall of Fame with the exception of 6 guys. And all those 6 guys are on the ballot right now. They're all like newer guys. Mm-hmm. Are you hearing any talk in NFL circles about voters changing their tune on specialists? I know that Pompey, I know he's written about he's going to be pushing for them. For Devin. Do you hear anything from voters or inside NFL talks about, Devin is the guy and he should go in, to say nothing of Billy White Shoes Johnson and Mel Gray and Dante Hall and Josh Cribbs and Rick Upchurch? I mean, he shouldn't be the only one, but do you hear Brian Mitchell? Do you hear anything about that?
I don't. I hear just more of coaches. I thought Chris Tabor had a great line the other day, the Bears special teams coach, when he got interviewed about Devin, and just he deserves to go in, but I haven't heard anything. I hope we start hearing more, but it was an honor to play with that guy. And my opinion is, if you change the game, which he did, and not just the game in general, but every game he played, he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, that's just, you could, I got lucky to play with Brian Urlacher, who's a first ballot Hall of Famer. To me, he's at that level of what they were asked to do on the football field. He played at that level.
At what point did you think to yourself watching Devin, oh, wow, this guy's a Hall of Famer? Because there aren't any return specialists. There's Dale Sayers, but also obviously a Hall of Fame running back. You've got Deion Sanders, who's also a Hall of Fame corner. You've got Rod Woodson, who's also a Hall of Fame safety. You've got older guys, Bears, George McAfee, but you don't have any just he's a return Hall of Famer.
Right.
Was there a point at which you said, oh, this guy's not just a flash in the pan. This guy has a legacy and he's going to be or should be in Canton?
I'll give 3 examples, and it starts from game 1 when he won against Green Bay.
Yep.
That's when you saw his college highlights. We saw his speed and his ability in camp and all that kind of stuff. But in that first game, you're like, he just returned one in his first game. Holy blank, Then you keep going, and he's doing these amazing things. And then I think it just came up the other day, the Rams game where he had the 2 kickoff returns for a touchdown. Yep. And one of them was on the hands team. They were there for an onside kick. The hands team, they don't block anybody, right? And he just ran through like that was like, oh my God, he just did that. And that's the second one of the game. And then finally the Minnesota game up at Minnesota where we had to play outdoors. I think that's where he broke the record. Yeah. I was like, that seals it. That just seals it. I mean, it just, his whole career just kind of took off. And there was some lull in there, but that's another testament to him that he never let him get him down. He had the belief that he would be back, and he did. And he just had a career where he was great all the time. And the other thing, Jack, is how hard he worked. When he first got there, Dave Toub was hard on him. There's a little bit of this is not slighting Devin, but I also think times for players, it also helps when you come into the right situation, the right coach, the right program, the right mindset of loving with defense, special teams, that kind of thing. But Devin worked his tail off. He spent more time out there catching off the jugs, working on left foot, whatever it was to make sure he was as good as he was as his craft. Obviously, his God-gift ability of being able to move and run, but he went out there and worked on catching everything, working on, moving left, all that just stuff. It just how hard he worked in his relationship with Dave Toub and how that worked together where they could communicate with each other, talk about how much more work he needed. There were times where Devin, you could tell, like, come on, Dave, really? I got to go back over there. It's 2 degrees outside. And Dave would be like, no, let's go over here, make sure, because this game's going to be the 9 degrees game against the Cowboys. We need to make sure you're ready to go. And Devin like, all right, coach, I respect you. Let's go get to work. And he's already pretty much the greatest of all time. And he's still putting in all that effort to make sure that he was that great at his craft. And I respect him a lot for that. Not just his ability, but how hard he worked on it.
Yeah, and you said it, the peaks and valleys. And he's got peaks that are other guys' entire careers. Guys who we talk about as when you say, when I talk about Devin, of course, there are other people who say, oh, but what about Dante Hall or, what about Mel Gray? And I'm like, yeah, it shouldn't just be one guy. I mean, let's get them all. But when you look at some of these other careers, their career is one of Devin's peaks.
Yes.
It's like what he did just in 06 or just in 07, and then he came back 10, 11, and then he had those years 13, 14. I think in both years he led the NFL in kick return, total kick return yards.
Yeah.
It's like any one of those is a Hall of Fame peak for a number of other returners.
Yeah, I think his career speaks for itself. I really do, and I think the understanding now of hidden yardage in football. What he did to the game, not just by not fielding punts. You know what I mean? By punters kicking it out of bounds and shaking one 31 yards, 25 yards, and I think I would like to go back and look at punters net against Devin Hester.
Yeah.
How much he took out, like just the return yardage, just what their net was of shanks. You know what I mean? How much that changes 15, 20 yards of the field. And that's him not even touching the ball. That's just his presence on the field. And I think that's what screams to me he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, because he changed the game so much.
Have you ever looked at Chris Cluey's history of tweets about Devin?
Yes.
They are
all the time.
Oh my goodness, they are so funny. They're a combination of, like, they're funny, they're deeply insightful.
Yes.
There's just deep frustration, exacerbation, and just he throws his hands up at a certain point as well. It's like the whole experience.
And I know, because he was a very good punter, very, very good punter.
Right.
But there was something in his head. I call it that little hook ball where he might be looking to put it outside the right numbers.
Yeah.
But he just misses it, and it hooks right down to the middle of the field, and the hang time is like 4 seconds, 3.8 or something, and then Devin just catches it, and he's got that 20 yards to go. And I've seen that too often from Chris. I don't know if it was a mental block, and that's what I'm talking about. Some of these punters, they're just shanking it to the right 20 yards, and they hit that little hook ball. When they hit that hook ball, that's when everybody's like, oh, here goes Devin. Here it goes. There's a little 3.8 punt going 40 yards right in the middle of the field. He's going to take it. And he did. He did quite a bit.
Dave Toub.
Yeah.
Are we going to see this man as a head coach?
I think he should be. And, we talked about, or there was, knowing that we were going to talk about Dave, and I thought about it more. And I've always said this: the man can command a room. To me, that's what a head coach has to do. I saw it in Chicago for all the years I was with him there. I got a chance to go out to Kansas City and sit in on a special teams meeting. He commands a room, and that's a room of everybody, right? Everybody talks about the special teams coaches, linebackers, everybody. Coaches O-linemen on field goal team, D-linemen on field goal block team. And the respect everybody had for him and how hard they played for him, that speaks volumes. And then thinking about him, head coach can be a head coach, but I've seen some good head coaches, and they don't surround themselves with good assistants. Good assistants are just as important as the head coach, in my opinion. You have to have talented coaches, and we're seeing that right now in Chicago. We're lacking in some of those positions and key positions. But what I think now, what would separate Dave from other coaches, he's been around the league for a long time. He's worked with a lot of great coaches. He is friends with a lot of, big-time people that can help him fill a staff with talent. And I think that's what you want to do as a head coach. You need that talent around you, and I think Dave could do that. He's worked with John Harbaugh. Andy Reid, obviously, and then all these years in the NFL, knowing all these people that have come and gone through Kansas City, through Chicago, with Lovey, Bob Abbey, all these people that he's coached with, they would be very helpful with him to find a great staff. And I think that's what Dave could do, not only be the great leader and a head coach, but he could also build himself a good staff. And then the final thing is, most special teams coaches are your situational coaches that help your head coach. And I'm talking about 2 minutes, all that kind of stuff that everybody's breaking down now on Twitter and calling everybody out about, like Brandon Staley going for it on fourth down last night. Dave is excellent at that, and I think he would be a very good head coach. And those are the three things I think that the reasons why I think he should be on the sideline.
You told me something a few years ago when we did our long piece for Windy City Gridiron that the stars of the defense wanted to be on special teams, and that part of the reason was that they wanted to block for Devin. But listen, we saw them out there on the field goal block when Nate Vash had his return against the 49ers. What was Dave Toub able to do to get these Pro Bowlers and all pros? We're talking Brian, Peanut, Lance, Alex Brown.
Blocking field goals. So
again, Peppers, Hunter killing people. What was he able to do that made these defensive players want to take yet another snap.
Mm-hmm. It was the standard he set in that room. And it's just the way he coached. He was very honest. Some guys after meetings, he'd be like, man, I can't believe he just said that to whoever. Like he would rip on Hunter. He would rip on anybody. If they weren't giving effort, doing the right thing. He was very honest. And he wasn't, that's the thing. He was always honest. He called out what he saw. He never got on guys and kept carrying on them and degrading them. But the guys respected his coaching ability. And then that standard in that room was, we are going to be the best every year. And he carried himself that way in every meeting, on the practice field. He did everything, all the details, but it was just a standard he set for those guys. And I think a lot of those guys, the defensive players, saw the effort we gave on special teams, how good Devin was, how good guys blocked for him on punt return. Brad Maynard, Robbie Gold, you know, the effort we had on punt team covering. Brendan Iamadejo was the leader of that, right?
Yep.
Tim Shaw was another leader of that. We had a bunch of guys in there.
Corey Graham made a Pro Bowl.
Sorry, Corey.
Yeah.
No doubt. Like so we had those guys in there that were alpha dogs in the NFL as special teams players, and that standard was so high that, you know, the defensive guys came in like, wait a minute, we can't embarrass ourselves. If these guys are out here playing this hard, and we get to play on a play with them, let's go get it.
Yep. All right. We see you guys tweet about this Bears team, good and bad.
Yeah.
Right now it's bad.
Yeah.
I see you tweet about them. Charles Olin certainly